Every cell in your body contains its own power plant, not one, but hundreds or even thousands of them. And right now, as you're watching this, the vast majority of those power plants are running at a fraction of the capacity they had when you were younger. These microscopic structures are called mitochondria, and they are responsible for generating roughly 90% of all the energy your body uses to function. Every heartbeat, every thought, every muscle contraction, every immune response, every act of healing and repair your body performs depends on mitochondria converting the food you eat and the oxygen you breathe into a molecule called ATP, which is the universal energy currency that powers everything you do and everything you are. Here's the problem that nobody talks about enough. Mitochondria are extraordinarily vulnerable to damage, and that damage accumulates relentlessly with age. The very process of generating energy produces free radicals as byproducts, reactive molecules that attack the mitochondrial membranes and the mitochondrial DNA from the inside. And because mitochondrial DNA lacks the protective packaging and the repair mechanisms that your nuclear DNA has, the damage builds up faster, the errors accumulate more aggressively, and the mitochondria gradually lose their ability to produce energy efficiently. By the time you're 60, some estimates suggest that your mitochondrial function has declined by as much as 40 to 50% compared to your peak. And the symptoms of that decline are so pervasive, so constant, and so easily attributed to aging itself that most people never realize they're experiencing a cellular energy crisis rather than the inevitable march of time. Chronic fatigue that sleep can't fix because your cells are producing less ATP than they need to meet basic operational demands. Brain fog and difficulty concentrating because the brain consumes roughly 20% of your body's total energy and is exquisitely sensitive to even small drops in mitochondrial output. Muscle weakness and reduced exercise tolerance because skeletal muscle cells contain more mitochondria than almost any other cell type and feel the decline first and hardest. Slow recovery from illness, injury, or physical exertion because tissue repair requires enormous amounts of energy and compromised mitochondria simply can't deliver it fast enough. And a general pervasive sense that the vitality you remember from your 30s has evaporated without clear explanation, because it has. And the explanation is happening at a level too small to see, but too consequential to ignore. But here's what changes the entire conversation. Mitochondrial decline is not a one-way street, and it is not an inevitable, irreversible sentence of aging. Your body has the ability to repair damaged mitochondria, to selectively destroy the ones that are too far gone through a quality control process called mitophagy, and most remarkably, like to build entirely new mitochondria from scratch through a process called mitochondrial biogenesis. All three of these processes depend heavily on specific nutrients and bioactive compounds that come from food. So today I want to show you 6 foods that support mitochondrial repair, clearance, and renewal through distinct, well-researched mechanisms. Because when your mitochondria work better, you feel better, and the gap between 65 and 35 gets measurably smaller. Food number 1 is fatty fish, and it provides 2 of the most critical mitochondrial support compounds in a single serving. Salmon, sardines, mackerel, and herring deliver high concentrations of omega-3 fatty acids, EPA and DHA, which are structural components of the mitochondrial membrane itself. The inner and outer membranes of your mitochondria are made of phospholipids, and their composition directly determines how efficiently the electron transport chain, the molecular assembly line that produces ATP, can operate. When those membranes are rich in omega-3s, they remain fluid, flexible, and highly conductive, allowing the protein complexes embedded in them to shuttle electrons efficiently and produce energy at maximum capacity. When the membranes are stiff and oxidized, as they increasingly become with age and with a diet heavy in omega-6 and saturated fats, the electron transport chain slows down, more electrons leak out as free radicals, and the mitochondria produce less energy while generating more damage with every cycle. Fatty fish also contains meaningful amounts of naturally occurring coenzyme Q10, which is not just a supplement you see in the vitamin aisle, but an essential electron carrier within the mitochondrial membrane that shuttles electrons between complexes in the transport chain. Without adequate CoQ10, the chain develops bottlenecks, efficiency drops, and free radical production increases. 2 to 3 servings of fatty fish per week supplies both the structural membrane components and the electron carrier that your mitochondria need to run cleanly and powerfully. Food number 2 is pomegranates, and they trigger a mitochondrial cleanup process that no other fruit can match. Pomegranates contain L-argitannins, which your gut bacteria convert into a compound called urolithin A. And urolithin A has emerged in recent years as one of the most exciting discoveries in mitochondrial medicine because it specifically activates mitophagy, the selective destruction and recycling of damaged mitochondria. This matters enormously because one of the central problems of mitochondrial aging isn't just that individual mitochondria get damaged, it's that the damaged ones stick around, clogging the cell with dysfunctional power plants that produce almost no energy but generate enormous amounts of free radicals. Mitophagy is the quality control system that identifies these failing units, dismantles them, and recycles their components into building material for new, healthy mitochondria. A landmark clinical trial conducted by the Swiss biotech company Amazentis and published in the journal Nature Metabolism found that urolithin supplementation significantly improved mitochondrial function and muscle endurance in older adults aged 65 to 90, with measurable improvements in biomarkers of mitochondrial health after just 4 months of daily intake. Participants showed increased mitochondrial gene expression, improved cellular respiration, and enhanced exercise performance. Not because they gained new muscle mass, but because their existing muscle cells were producing energy more efficiently after the damaged mitochondria had been cleared and replaced. This is the kind of result that makes mitochondrial researchers excited because it demonstrates that the age-related decline in mitochondrial function isn't fixed. It can be partially reversed by activating the body's own quality control system and giving it the molecular trigger to start cleaning house. The pomegranate is one of the only dietary sources of the L-argitannin precursor compounds that your gut bacteria need to produce urolithin A, though it's worth noting that the conversion efficiency varies significantly between individuals depending on the composition of their gut microbiome, with some people producing much more urolithin A from the same serving than others. Eating pomegranate seeds regularly, drinking unsweetened pomegranate juice, or for those who want a more reliable dose, taking a urolithin A supplement directly are all viable strategies for activating this critical mitochondrial cleanup pathway. Food number 3 is eggs, and their mitochondrial benefit comes from a nutrient most people don't realize they contain. Eggs, particularly the yolks, which is where most of the micronutrients are concentrated, are one of the best dietary sources of B vitamins, including B2, riboflavin, B3, niacin, and B5, pantothenic acid, all of which serve as direct precursors or essential cofactors for the molecules that drive every step of the mitochondrial energy production chain. Riboflavin is converted into a molecule called FAD, which is an essential electron carrier in complex 2 of the electron transport chain, one of the 4 protein complexes that work together like a bucket brigade to pass electrons down the chain and generate the electrical gradient that powers ATP production. Niacin is converted into NAD+, which is arguably the single most important molecule in all of mitochondrial biology. It's the primary electron carrier that collects energy from the food you digest and delivers it to the transport chain where it's used to generate ATP. And without adequate NAD+ levels, the entire energy production system comes to a grinding halt. This is where the connection to aging becomes impossible to ignore. NAD plus levels decline dramatically and progressively with age, falling by as much as 50% between your 30s and your 60s. And this decline is now considered by many researchers to be one of the primary molecular drivers of age-related energy loss, cognitive decline, and metabolic dysfunction. NAD plus precursors have become one of the most intensely studied areas in longevity science, with supplements like NMN and NR attracting enormous attention and investment. But niacin from whole food sources like eggs remains one of the simplest, cheapest, and most physiologically natural ways to support your body's NAD plus production without expensive supplementation. Eggs also contain choline, which supports the structural integrity of mitochondrial membranes, and acetyl L-carnitine precursors that help transport fatty acids into the mitochondria where they're burned as fuel. 2 eggs daily provides a meaningful dose of these mitochondrial cofactors alongside high-quality protein and fat-soluble vitamins that support overall cellular health. Food number 4 is beets, and they improve mitochondrial efficiency through a mechanism that has nothing to do with antioxidants. Beets are the richest common dietary source of nitrates, which your body converts to nitric oxide. And nitric oxide's effect on mitochondria goes far beyond the blood vessel relaxation that most people associate with it. Research has shown that nitric oxide directly improves mitochondrial efficiency by reducing the amount of oxygen the mitochondria need to produce a given amount of ATP, essentially making each mitochondrion more fuel efficient. This means that for the same oxygen intake, your cells produce more usable energy and generate fewer damaging byproducts, which is particularly significant for organs with the highest energy demands like the heart, the brain, and skeletal muscle. A study from the University of Exeter found that dietary nitrate supplementation from beet juice reduced the oxygen cost of exercise by nearly 20% in older adults, meaning their muscles could perform the same amount of work with significantly less metabolic strain. And the participants reported feeling noticeably less fatigue during and after physical activity. Subsequent research confirmed that this efficiency improvement extends beyond exercise. Even at rest, improved nitric oxide availability from dietary nitrates enhances the baseline efficiency of mitochondria in the heart, brain, and other organs, meaning you get more functional energy from the same amount of food and oxygen throughout your entire day, not just during the workout. This isn't an athletic performance trick. It's a fundamental upgrade to how your cellular power plants convert fuel into usable energy. And it has direct implications for daily stamina, mental sharpness, and the kind of persistent tiredness that people over 60 accept as inevitable when it's actually a correctable efficiency problem in their mitochondria. Roasted beets, raw beet salad, or concentrated beet juice are all effective delivery methods. The nitrates survive cooking and processing, and the effect begins within hours of consumption, making beets one of the fastest acting mitochondrial foods on this list. Food number 5 is avocados, and they deliver a combination of mitochondrial support nutrients that few other single foods can match. Avocados are remarkably rich in several compounds that directly support mitochondrial structure and function, monounsaturated fats that contribute to healthy membrane composition, naturally occurring CoQ10 that supports electron transport, magnesium that is required for every ATP molecule to be biologically active, and potassium that maintains the electrochemical gradients across mitochondrial membranes that drive the ATP synthase turbine, the molecular machine that actually produces the final energy molecule. This combination of membrane support, electron carrier supply, and mineral cofactors makes the avocado one of the most complete mitochondrial foods available in a single, affordable, widely available package. Research has also shown that the monounsaturated fats in avocados reduce oxidative stress in mitochondrial membranes by replacing the more oxidation-prone polyunsaturated fats that accumulate damage over time, essentially upgrading the building material from which mitochondrial walls are constructed and making them more resistant to the free radical damage that aging accelerates. And food number 6 is spinach, and it supplies the one mineral that mitochondria literally cannot function without. We covered magnesium in detail in our earlier video about the mineral that activates 300 cellular processes. But its role in mitochondrial energy production deserves special emphasis here because it is so fundamental and so widely deficient that it may be the single most impactful nutritional correction many people over 60 can make. Every molecule of ATP that your mitochondria produce must be bound to a magnesium ion to become biologically active. Without that magnesium, the ATP just sits there, chemically inert and energetically useless. Spinach is one of the richest vegetable sources of magnesium available, and a generous serving alongside the other 5 foods on this list creates a comprehensive mitochondrial support protocol that addresses membrane integrity, electron transport efficiency, energy cofactor supply, damaged mitochondria clearance, and the fundamental mineral activation that makes all of it work. Here's the takeaway that I want you to hold on to. The fatigue, the brain fog, the muscle weakness, the slow recovery, these are not just getting older. They are symptoms of mitochondria that aren't getting what they need to do their job, and every one of them is addressable through the food you put on your plate. Fatty fish for membrane structure and electron transport, pomegranates for clearing out damaged mitochondria, eggs for NAD plus and electron carrier precursors, beets for oxygen efficiency, avocados for comprehensive cofactor delivery, and spinach for the magnesium that activates every ATP molecule your cells produce. 6 foods, 6 mechanisms, all working together to rebuild the power plants that run your entire body. Your mitochondria aren't dead as they're starving. Feed them and the energy comes back. Share this with someone who needs it. Subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. And as always, take care of yourselves. I'll see you in the next one.